Hi everybody, Servus, grüß euch miteinander. Well, that is how we here in Bavaria, where the Artelino company is located, say hello. That's the same. Again, Servus or grüß euch miteinander. That's pure Bavarian dialect. And we work and live here in the southern part of Germany, in Bavaria, and the Bavarian Alps are very near. It's a beautiful location. But today's video is not about Bavaria. No, our videos are about Japanese prints called ukiyo-e, and the subject of today's video is one of the big names of the Japanese ukiyo-e masters, about Hokusai Katsushika, a great master of the first half of the 19th century and a little bit of the end of the 18th century. He was born in 1760 and died in 1849. So you see, he became rather old. He was born in the Katsushika district of Edo, the old name for Tokyo. When he was 15 years old, he started an apprenticeship at a woodblock workshop, where people could buy woodblock prints or books. Both were made in the same techniques, by carving wood blocks, everything by hand, by pulling the prints by hand. And 3 years later, when he was 18 years old, he entered the painting and printmaking school of Katsukawa Shunro, the head of the Katsukawa school. There he learned painting and how to make a woodblock print. Hokusai Katsushika belongs to the very prolific, very influential and very important ukiyo-e masters, and everybody in the world knows at least one design by him. The Great Wave of Kanagawa. That has become not only the landmark of Japanese prints, but the landmark of Japan. Every tourist knows it. The big wave, and with this tiny boat in the background, Mount Fuji. And there are two more designs, famous but not that much, where you see Mount Fuji, one clear sky breeze in the morning or something, and the other one with the lightning of Mount Fuji, a very modern design. It's quite amazing, how modern this was, and it was made around, I don't have it in my head, let's say 1830. These designs are from a series called 36 Views of Mount Fuji. That title is misleading because actually it's 46 designs, and it's all with Mount Fuji somewhere in the design. Katsushika worked for 10 years on this series. Imagine, it was really his masterpiece. Today, these designs, when they are originals, they are very, very expensive. Nevertheless, you see prints, especially with the famous designs like for Mount Fuji or the Great Wave of Kanagawa. You see them very often. They are reproductions, usually not mechanical reproductions, but reproductions that were made, again by hand, after the original designs, but by carving new blocks. Why didn't they use the old blocks? Well, a wooden block, you can pull roughly, there are estimates, let's say from 5,000 to 10,000 copies, but then the block is so worn out that you cannot even use it with repairs any longer, and you have to make a new block. And these are called reproductions. Well, the reproductions are rather cheap, $50, $100. And when you have a Japanese website, You often get emails by guys with an attachment of a design from this series, and they think they own a fortune, which is of course not the case. There are maybe, for one originals, my personal guts feelings or guesses, at least 1,000 of such handmade copies, maybe 10,000 for one original. Well, Katsushika Hokusai made not only this series, but also other series. Another famous one shows Waterfalls. The title is Shokoku Taki Meguri. Excuse my Japanese. It's something like a journey to the waterfalls of the provinces. Very rare also, very rare and very expensive. Another famous creation, artwork by Hokusai are his manga sketchbooks. What are they? They are what the title says. They are just sketches. They were published as books in several volumes, and they show sketches by the artists. Some are serious, some are comic, all kind, but that's really interesting. And these books, because they were popular, were republished very often. Most that you can buy today are probably from the Meiji era. The Meiji era began in 1868, so many years after the death of Hokusai. But nevertheless, very interesting and not necessarily a reproduction. An original is made when is called an original when it's made from the original blocks dot. Let's talk about a little bit about the private life of Hokusai and his nature. He must have been a very restless guy, restless nature. We can imagine him as an ukiyo-e, a real workaholic, that guy. He worked from dusk to dawn, apparently. When he was a little bit older, he wrote his own biography. And there he mentioned that he had moved 93 times in his life. Maybe a little bit exaggerated. Normally a Japanese does never move, maybe once in his life, but 93 times, this is completely crazy. I remember another artist, a musician, Beethoven, he also moved frequently. Probably he was thrown out because he played his piano too loud, I don't know. But 93 times, my God. Well, one thing is for sure, he changed his artist names roughly 30 times. It's very much to the distress and confusion of collectors and dealers. But that's rather common by Japanese artists. Whenever they thought they enter into a new period of their artistic creation, they took a new name. Crazy guys, yeah, these Japanese artists. But what can I say? Well, as an artist, he was very successful. His private life was less fortunate. His first wife had died in 1793 and left him with a son and 2 daughters. He then remarried a few years later in 1797, and in 1812 his eldest son died. His 2 daughters, they married, but they had unhappy marriages and returned to their father's home. And well, one daughter, maybe both, I don't know that so precise, moved in with their children, and Hokusai adopted the eldest son of his eldest daughter, and that guy was a good for nothing. So there was a period when Hokusai had a lot of trouble in his life. And well, I had already mentioned it, he remarried, but in 1826 his second wife had died. Yeah, that guy, he was crazy for making ukiyo-e. He had nothing else in his mind. He was obsessed with making Japanese prints ukiyo-e. It is estimated, I can hardly believe that number, that there are 30,000 different designs by Hokusai. For me, it's so astonishing because you don't see Hokusai prints as often as, for instance, designs by Konisada. Well, I would estimate that I see one Hokusai print for 100 Konisada prints. By the way, I mentioned he was obsessed. When he was old, he wrote his own biography, and in 1834, he changed his name to, in Japanese, Gakio Rogen or something like that. Excuse my Japanese. That means, in English, Bavarian English, old man mad with painting, and that is what he was. And he kept that name until 1849 when he died. Well, let's talk a little bit about prices. I already mentioned that in spite of these estimated 30,000 designs, which I took from the literature, this number, you don't see them that often. They are rather rare, and they are usually expensive, or let's say not cheap. When you see a Hokusai print in good condition, it's always a good buy. So don't forget to take a look at the weekly online auctions of Artelino, artelino.com. There every now and then, like in the auction that starts coming Sunday, we have a print by Hokusai Katsushika, one of the biggest names of ukiyo-e. Okay, for today, let's finish. Don't forget to bid in our weekly auctions. And have a good guy, you guys and fans and friends of Japanese prints, also called ukiyo-e. Goodbye.